Why has this young generation taken such an entitlement belief?
Wow. What a great question.
I have a theory on it.
So I'll do my theory, and I'd love to hear yours, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I think you have to ask yourself, why would someone want to be entitled to something? Well, you want to believe you're entitled to something if you believe you're a victim. And where does victimhood come from? It comes from the softening and the weakening of an entire generation.
Correct.
And so when a generation never has to go through any sort of what's the
nothing.
word
We didn't. No Great Depression. No
That's
war.
Exactly right.
We've lived through nothing. Millennials in America are the most spoiled individuals on the face of the planet.
They have it better than anyone else in the history of the world. Which
is why they feel they're suffering so much.
That's right. That's right. They've never been through any sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Tragedy.
Adversity. That's the word I'm looking for. My goodness, it took me 2 minutes to get there. They've never been through any sort of adversity. And their idea of adversity is they had to stay up late and publish a paper. Like, feel bad for me.
Right.
Great.
I had to stay up really late tonight.
I mean, we had
in the protest in the morning.
In the 1950s, in the 1940s and 50s, as you say commonly, our boys rushed to the beach of Normandy and went to World War II to fight the great evil. Mm-hmm. In the 1960s, our boys were drafted to go fight in Vietnam in a war that I felt was unjust and never should have been declared upon. So on and so forth. The equivalent of our generation is. Right. I
have to hear Ben Shapiro speak on campus.
Or my Uggs were delivered 2 days late. Yeah. Or my pumpkin spice latte is imbalanced.
Yeah. No, seriously, there's not enough pumpkin and spice in my pumpkin spice latte.
Give me a break.
No. It's sickening, and that's what it is that when you've lived through absolutely nothing, there's a long quote about that. Like, when a generation that lives through nothing
weak men
creates weak men.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and
good times create weak men.
Right.
And weak
bad
men,
times create strong men, and you've got this going on. And unfortunately, we have created the weakest period of men in the millennial American generation.
Correct. That's correct.
And when I say men, I mean men and women. Justin Trudeau. Mankind, humankind, whatever, But you get what I'm saying, and it's really can be attributed to the fact that we've lived through nothing. And when I say that my grandfather has never said anything about racism or called people racist and said that he deserves this or that, and yet he lived through a racist period in America where there was actually pieces of legislation that were racist. And I see Black Americans say on campus, and you, Charlie and I will ask this question, Bob, at the beginning. And I will say, just to see what planet I'm on before we even get started.
What planet I'm on.
Just that's what I say. Just see what planet I'm on before we even get started. How many people believe that America is a more racist country today than it was in the 1940s? Hands go up. And I go, okay, we're not on Earth today. Let's get started. Jarring.
It takes an extraordinary amount of effort to get to something that's screwed up.
Right. I mean, just think about that. It's a good question. We just want to see what planet we're on, so we know if there's gravity in the room.
How many people raise their hand?
Dozens.
And then they'll say to us, it's a different type of racism.
No, it's even
like
more,
so
it's even more sinister.
Than hanging people from trees.
Yeah, totally different than hanging people from trees. That is what we are fighting on college campuses, just to get them to like a little bit closer to reality where you can say, hey, you can at least say, fine, I believe in racism, whatever. But if you can't acknowledge that America has made progress from the 1940s to 2019, as you're a Black person sitting at UCLA and
one of the nicest schools in the world,
speaking and going to listen to a Black woman. I mean, it's jarring, but this is what the education system can actually do to people's minds.
Yes. And so take it to kind of a really interesting extreme. A group of people I think everyone can learn from are living Medal of Honor recipients. And what's amazing, and I've had a chance to meet a couple, we met one at one of our Turning Point USA events. What's unbelievable is these people have lived through hell. You don't live and get the Medal of Honor without seeing and experiencing something beyond. You have seen people die. You've probably killed other people. You've done something so heroic and so amazing. And without a shadow of a doubt, every Medal of Honor recipient I have met, they are so humble and they want nothing in return. They don't consider themselves a victim. They don't want a special award ceremony. They don't want a special thing from government. It's like, I was just doing my duty. And when someone goes through such unbelievably harsh times, you see this through all of our veterans, right? They're absolutely amazing. It creates a posture of your soul and of your person where you're thankful to be living in this country and you're not a spoiled, entitled brat like most of our, unfortunately, like most of our generations.
Rats.
And so when Bernie Sanders comes along or an AOC comes along and they say, you're entitled to all these things because you've lived through so much. And
what the hell have they lived through? What the hell have I lived through?
And then I look and I see the greatest generation, what they had to live through.
Right.
Where there were families that went off to war and half the brothers came back. I just want you to think about
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean, literally, like your chances of surviving on D-Day. I always talk about that. Think that they knew that those boys knew they were going to die. I mean, just think about that.
Yes, and they knew that
anyways.
if you don't take this beach at this time,
Right.
very little, the likelihood of even taking the European theater within 2 years is low.
Right.
Like they had a 3-day window to take Europe through one entry point because they deceived the Germans. They deceived them through a counterintelligence campaign. They fired Patton. They thought they were going to invade on the northern side of Germany, on France, and they went to Normandy, and they still lost.
Think of Dunkirk, the British taking their own ships over to go save. I mean, like
One of the
amount of bravery that
Yes.
it took to say, "I'm just a fisherman, and I'm just going to go save our boys." And
Yes.
today we have people that just can't deal with the fact that Charlie and Candace are going to come talk about conservative principles.
Yeah, they need a
and
safe
they're
space.
crying.
Really, really tough.
It is tough.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
I know.
Yeah, it's really
You guys are all
hard.
struggling right now.
Yeah.
Hashtag oppressed.
Yes.
Okay, last question.
Last one.
The question that is on everyone's mind on
Here we
Instagram.
go. I know what this is.